Have you ever felt like you built your entire personality on a foundation of silence? That from your earliest memory you understood, not through words, but through a vibration in the air, a certain tightness in a room, what was required of you? To be easy, to be quiet, to be good. You learned to navigate the emotional weather of your home like a seasoned sailor reading storm clouds, anticipating needs, soothing tensions, making yourself small and pleasant and manageable. Your achievements were for the family portrait. Your emotions were a private, messy room you kept the door locked on. And for that, you were praised. "You're such a good kid. We never have to worry about you. You're so mature for your age." These phrases became the pillars of your identity.
So let's define this with clarity, because this is more than a personality trait. It is a psychology of adaptation, born from a specific emotional ecosystem. First, we must understand parentification, specifically emotional parentification. This is when a child, out of necessity, assumes the role of an emotional caretaker for their parent or family system. They become the tiny therapist, the peacekeeper, the absorber of ambient stress. Their nervous system becomes attuned not to their own inner world, but to the outer world of adult emotions. They learn to self-regulate others before they even learn what self-regulation for their own sake feels like. This leads directly to the second concept, hypervigilance. Your brain's threat detection system, the amygdala, is calibrated to a hair trigger sensitivity. You are scanning constantly for a shift in tone, a change in body language, a sigh that carries a universe of disappointment. Your default mode isn't rest and digest.
But the cost of this adaptation is an invisible kind of grief. It is the grief for the self you never got to become, the one who could throw a tantrum and still be loved, the one who could fail spectacularly and be met with comfort, not correction, the one who could say "I want" without a tremor of shame. The philosopher Rilke wrote, "The only journey is the one within." But what if you were taught that the inner journey was a treacherous path littered with needs that were burdens and emotions that were inconveniences? So you abandoned the expedition. You built a settlement on the surface and called it a personality. Your core fear is no longer something external like spiders or heights. It is a pervasive internal hum, the fear of being truly seen as needy, difficult, or overwhelming, the fear of your own humanity becoming a reason for abandonment. So you preemptively abandon yourself. You silence the cry before it leaves your throat. You fix your own wounds in the dark so no one has to see the blood. This creates a specific existential loneliness. You can be surrounded by people who love the good you, the easy you, and feel utterly, profoundly isolated. Because the parts of you that are tangled, hungry, angry, wild, your shadow self, have been exiled. And as Carl Jung insisted, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Your fate becomes a series of choices made by a ghost, choices that prioritize harmony over hunger, stillness over authenticity. You don't know how to rest, because rest was never modeled as a right. It was a reward for when all the work was done. And for the good child, the work of managing the emotional field is never done.
So how does this childhood blueprint manifest in your adult life? The coping mechanisms become the cages. You might become an adult who has no functional boundaries. Saying no feels like a violent act of betrayal. Your body reacts with panic at the thought of disappointing someone. So your time, energy, and emotional reserves are perpetually overdrawn. Suffers from chronic approval seeking. Your internal compass is permanently set to external validation. A compliment feels like oxygen. Criticism, even if constructive, feels like a systemic failure. Experiences phantom guilt. You feel responsible for emotions you didn't cause. A friend is sad, and you frantically search your behavior for the offense.
You apologize for things that require no apology. Struggles with identity diffusion. Ask yourself, what do I want? And you're met with static. Your preferences are so often buried under what would be easiest or what would they like that you've lost the map to your own desires. Engages in covert self-sabotage. You might achieve, but then inexplicably pull back right at the brink of real success, because shining too brightly invites attention, scrutiny, and the terrifying pressure to maintain a new, higher standard of good. Has a fractured relationship with anger. Your anger, if you feel it at all, doesn't come out as a clean flame. It leaks as passive aggression, sudden coldness, somatic illness, or a deep, unexplainable fatigue. It turns inward, becoming depression, or outward as intense irritability over minor slights. These aren't flaws, they are echoes. They are the old software developed in a different emotional operating system, still running in the background and draining your battery. Unlearning this is not about blaming the past. It is about recognizing that the strategies that saved you then are starving you now. It's about updating the software. Awareness is the first and most radical act of liberation. Simply noticing the moment you shrink, the moment you people-please, the moment you mute your truth, that is you, the adult, witnessing the child's survival tactic. And in that witness, there is a sliver of space, a choice. Healing, then, is not about becoming a bad child. It's about becoming a real adult, a whole human. It begins with nervous system reparation. You must teach your body that it is safe to not be on duty. This is practical. Breath work, somatic practices, weighted blankets. It's literally sending the signal to your amygdala. The war is over. We can stand down. It requires conscious inner child work. This isn't sentimental. It's strategic. You must become the parent to that little strategist you once were. When you feel that familiar pang of guilt for setting a boundary, picture that child. Tell them, I see how hard you worked. You don't have to earn love by being quiet anymore. I've got us now. It's safe to be big. It demands shadow integration. You must, with great compassion, invite your exiled parts to the table, the angry part, the needy part, the selfish part. Ask them what they need. Give them a small, safe outlet. Journal as the angry you. Let yourself want something absurd. And perhaps most challenging, it involves practicing softness as a discipline, forcing yourself to receive a compliment without deflecting, to ask for help with a simple task, to state a preference, however small. I'd like to see this movie. This is weightlifting for atrophied emotional muscles. The Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." The good child lives in the imagination of what could happen if they are real. The healing is about testing reality, speaking a small truth and discovering the world does not end, feeling a need and finding it can be met. The goal is not to be fixed, but to become whole, to integrate the good child with the real adult, to trade the prison of perfection for the messy, liberating responsibility of being human. If this resonated with you, if you saw your own reflection in these words, then you are already on the path. That feeling of being seen is your confirmation. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, because they might be the good child hiding in plain sight. Subscribe for more journeys into the hidden landscapes of the psyche. And remember, the most revolutionary act a good child can commit is to finally, tenderly disappoint everyone except themselves.